about deductive reasoning and logic, and you're going to start by filling in your notes. So you should put this paper onto your desktop and put the symbols, etc. in as I put them in, and I'll walk you through that idea. So instead of starting up here with equivalent, I'm going to start on the second page with conditional statements, because that's what we start with. Conditional statements can be written in a form of if-then, a sentence that starts if something, then something. That is called a conditional statement. If-then. Okay? If-then. These statements can be either true or false. We don't go into that as much as you would if you were taking logic, but it's an interesting thing to look at with each sentence, is if it's true or if it's false. For example, here's a sentence. If you work hard, then you will like geometry. Could be true, could be false. For me, I like it. A conditional statement has two parts, the if part and the then part. The if part is referred to as the hypothesis, hypothesis. And the symbol we use to represent hypothesis, I'm not sure why, it's just always been that way, is the letter P. And I'm sure you've heard of hypothesis in science, but the other part we had, that's if part. If something, then a conclusion. And instead of the letter P for the conclusion, we use the letter Q. Okay, so then the symbols, we use P and Q. P. And then we use an arrow. So if you go to annotate, and instead of going down to text, find arrow and move. Whoa, I haven't ever done that before. Move the entire arrow up, and then we need it much shorter. Shrink it down. P. Then letter Q. And if you see P arrow Q, it's written P arrow Q, but it's read as if P, then Q. So when you see this, you say if P, then Q. So that's all called conditional. If then, like if you work hard, then you will like geometry. Okay, converse. Another word that has converses, I know, tennis shoes, but reverse. So we start with the conditional. If B is between A and C, then AB plus BC. Do you remember from earlier this unit? Part plus part equals whole. Whole is AC. And so if we reverse that, its converse is whatever was at the end starts at the beginning. If AB plus BC equals AC. So AB plus BC is AC. And so that was at the end, and now it's at the beginning, and then the beginning is at the end. So the complete converse statement is if AB plus BC equals AC, then B is between A and C. If the original statement or conditional and its reverse is called converse, If they're both true, then we have what is called a biconditional. Both. Two. Biconditional. 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 So, what did we just do there? The converse is formed by putting the first last and the last becomes first. So, reversing, didn't we? We reversed by reversing the hypothesis and the, what's the last part, the Q part called? I can't read it right there. How about there? And the conclusion, right? The end is the conclusion. So N-C-L-U-S-I-O-N. And instead of writing it as P then Q, well, it's Q. Arrow. Notate. Arrow. Move it up. Shrink it down. And then put the other letter, which is P. So this was P then Q. This is Q then P. And it is read as if Q then P. A biconditional is written with the P and the Q. P. Q. And this, IFF, if and only if. So it's written as P, IFF, Q. Instead of an arrow, it uses those letters. P, if and only if, Q. Original, reversed. Okay, now we'll go to the top and look at negating things. Negation is found by doing something to the original statement. Doing the P-P-O-S-I-T-E, opposite of the original statement. It is written with this symbol. So I went in to annotate, stopped at text to signature, and it's this symbol. And when you see that symbol, it means not, and it says not P, not P. So if you see that symbol and the letter P, it's read as not P. For example, a statement might be, it is raining. So the negation of that would be, or the opposite of that meaning would be, it is not raining. A counter example is just one instance, one particular moment, one example that turns the meaning around, negates the meaning. N-E-G-A-T-E-S, negates the meaning. One example that negates it. For example, suppose you claim that all even numbers are composite, composed of, like 8 is composed of 2 times 4, or 10 is composed of 2 times 5. So can you think of a number that, an even number that isn't composed of something other than 1 in itself? That may be the hint. The number that is only ones are 2, because 2 is prime. It's composed of just 2 and 1, not a composite number which has more. So because it is a prime numbers are only divisible by themselves and 1, right? Okay, so that's what negation means, which takes us, okay, so we had conditionals, original, reversed. Now we're going to go back to the original and negate it. Find the inverse. So the inverse is formed by negating negating, negating both the hypothesis and the so it is written, since we have negating, we have to use that symbol of not over and over again. Not, shrink it down, P, then, so the symbol for then symbol for not, and then Q. And is read, if not P, then not Q. Not P, then not Q. So let's look at an example. If you start with a conditional that says, if it is raining, then the grass is wet. The inverse becomes, if it is not raining, then the grass is not wet. Nots to the beginning and to the end. If they already had nots in it, the negation, the opposite, is without nots. So there's inverse. Okay, then we're going to go to contrapositive. Here's an example of a conditional statement. If point B lies in the interior of angle AOC, then angle addition, little angle, part plus part equals whole. Contrapositive, if angle AOB, so the ending, right, we reverse, we start at the end. If angle AOB plus angle BOC, and then it doesn't have an equal symbol, it has a not equal symbol, angle AOC, then B does not lie in the interior. So does not lie in the interior of angle AOC. The contrapositive is formed then by first becomes last, last becomes first, reversing, reversing, the what and the what, hypothesis and conclusion. They reversed it, but they also add these nots, didn't they? And negating, negating, negating the beginning, the hypothesis, and the end, which is called the conclusion. So it is written with this symbol, which means not. Let's shrink it down. And it starts at the end, so we have to have Q first. And then we have the arrow. Then the symbol. Shrunk down. And then the first letter last, P. And it is read as, if not Q, then not P. If not Q, then not P. Which leaves us just one section. And this we don't do as much, but I'm putting it in here anyway. Equivalent statements are either both, what we don't look at very often, but they do a lot in logic. If you are really interested in this, take a college course called Logic. It's really this type of stuff and can get interesting, and they will get all into the trueness and falseness of items. A conditional statement has the same meaning if you put nots and reverse it, called the contrapositive. The conditional and contrapositive either are both true or both false. Similarly, a converse and the one other type, inverse, have exactly the same meaning. And that should fill in all your notes. Thank you.